Good evening, Lowdown Nation. Um, we are back with episode 10 of the Lowdown with Matt. This is where we celebrate bass players, we celebrate local music, we celebrate unsigned artists, and just have a good time diving into music scenes around the country. And today we're taking a virtual trip up to Nashville. Yes, up to Toontown. And we're going to be speaking shortly with Mr. Dave Parker, who is the bass player for Maiden, Mother, Crone. A really amazing band that is part of music is what Nashville is known for, among other things. And to be part of that scene is just really, really cool. And so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and bring Dave in, and we'll get started with tonight's festivities. Dave, how are you, sir?
Doing very good.
Awesome. So your day been going okay?
It's been pretty chill so far. Just did a little bit of work earlier today. Relaxed. I played a little bit of music, some bass, some guitar. It's been pretty chill for the most part.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get started with the chat. The vibe I try to go for with these, Dave, is that it's more of just a conversation than an interview. You know, interviews are just too formal of a thing. I would rather just have it be a chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, how long have you been playing bass, Dave?
Oh man, I originally started on guitar, and that's what I've done the majority of my life. So about 2007, I picked up the guitar, did that, got really into it, probably kind of deciding that I wanted to do that, like for real, the passion, like, oh, this is kind of cool, around like 2009. Then like going through the motions of, oh, I want to go to school for this. And so applied to schools for guitar, got in the guitar program at Belmont University. And so that's what brought me to Nashville, was doing the guitar program. Changed over to music business there and did that whole route. So I figured that was probably a better route. And we can talk more in any details if you want.
Oh, yeah.
Answering the question, did guitar like in the scene for a number of years. 2017, a few bands needed bassists. Like I was playing guitar in this band. It was ending, and that group, we didn't have a bassist. So it's like, okay, I hear what I want to do in my head. And I was like, all right, I can do it. I'm going to do it. And then another group needed a bassist. And so I was like, okay, well, that's when I delved into it. And I was just like, I really like this. I love this. And I don't know. I could just hear everything in my head better. I could get head to fingers. I could hear the sounds, know how to manipulate it and get it like that. And at that time on guitar, I was really struggling with like the direction I wanted to go. And I went all into it. And it's just like, it kind of feels like I should have done it that whole time, to be honest. But
right.
So the way life goes, I consider myself more of a bassist than a guitarist these days. So really 2017, that's where I made the change.
Very cool. Yeah. Like you, I'm actually a converted guitarist myself. I've played guitar off and on the better part of my life, and then about 4 years ago, my son took up guitar, and he absconded with all my guitar gear, and so he and my wife decided to surprise me with a bass, and I had never touched a bass, let alone tried to play one. So, I started noodling around with it, and fairly quickly, I discovered that all these years I'd been a bass player and I just never knew it, It's really been a lot of fun. And over these 4 years, I've taken the time to actually learn a little bit of music theory,
Mhm.
and that has actually made a lot of what I was doing previously on the guitar make a lot more sense, you know.
Mhm.
So it's really been a very cool journey. But I mean, I'm doing these simply because, you know, I love the bass, and I just feel like bass players don't get the attention that we deserve.
Absolutely. I've found personally, there's just in my journey, there's been this nice sense of I just step into so many different avenues and I can connect with people where
Right.
depending on what they're playing, I go, oh, I hear something to go with that. And it's just,
Hmm.
it's been really, I don't know, rewarding just to go, I'm connecting with more people just so easily. I can provide these bass lines that then they're like, oh, hell yeah, we're bringing this up. And it's been one of the most rewarding, I don't know, musical journeys I've had. So that's why I've just leaned the fuck into it.
That is so cool. Um, so, have you? Well, it sounds like you've gone to school at least somewhat for this, but have you taken lessons, or are you pretty much self-taught, or how has that gone?
It's both, but so going way back to the beginning, I had really the music theory originally started on piano. So I started when I was 4 on piano. Never really had that musical bug then. It was just my family's very musical.
Hmm.
Grandpa played sax, mom played all the woodwinds, dad played sax. Um, so started me on piano, and I went through the motions, learned scales, a bit of a smidge of theory, what you would do as a child. So I understood it. Um, and then, it came along there. So um, then when guitar comes along, I had an idea of that stuff. I met Eric Lovell in guitar. He was my teacher, basically, and kind of mentor, almost like a practical father figure in some ways. He was just
Hmm.
an incredible teacher. The way I think of concepts, the way I think about the guitar is the way he taught me. And that's the way I teach people as well. And it was such a great way of going through learning songs, learning theory, telling me about his experiences in the music business. Honestly, just the best experience. And so I'm from North Carolina, Charlotte. He's still based out of there. Um, so I had that kind of background there. Um, and that got me ready, got me into music school, ready to go. Um, and yeah, so yeah, and I would do things like maybe I'd do like extra reading outside because by the time I got to college and I did that year of the guitar program, at the end of it, I was like, uh, I just don't see paying all this money to have this degree that says you're a guitarist. It just seemed like such a waste of money. Like, and you can't do anything else. Like, what if it doesn't work? Uh,
Right.
you know, you can always play music. And so I just said, I'm going to go the business route. I'm going to take all these books and things they tell you to buy, all the, materials we have out there. I'm going to study myself because I saw my roommate who was getting to play more guitar out and about. He didn't have to be learning the classical pieces, which is all fun and good. And, it makes you an incredible player. It does. But
Right.
I wanted to be doing more of that, spending less time practicing these specific things. And I knew that I could still practice these things, but also do more of what I wanted to and enjoy and have fun and play with him and other people. So that is why I changed, because I knew I could learn and practice on my own and also kind of do my own thing too and get the business side. So that's kind of where my journey went.
So really, it was kind of the best of all worlds.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, it was great because I'm in Nashville. I like older country. I'm not as big on the modern thing. There's a few things
Mm.
here.
Yeah. I'm with you.
It was just like, oh, so I'm going to be a session musician for this. and I was like, yeah, we're not going to do that.
So as far as your personal playing style goes, um, do you have a preference between fingerstyle or pick, or is it situational for you?
It's definitely going to be pick most of the time because at the beginning the pick transferred from
Hmm.
guitar. So it was like I could play anything with a pick. The fingers had to catch up, and so I'd say the fingers got better and better, and it's now finally at a point these days so where it's like um, it's pretty close. Like if
Hmm.
the pick you can get really quick. My fingers can't quite get the same. It's now at a point where it's like thinking tonally, when am I going to use my fingers? When am I going to use my pick? Um, I feel very confident, like right now about that. I'd say it's
Hmm.
within the past year-ish where I kind of made that, and I always felt like before that it was like, oh, you're subtly missing something. Maybe you're not getting something right in the same way, but I still do tend to lean into the pick a bit more,
Hmm.
based on the way I have my settings. Um, just because I can kind of like palm mute and I can kind of hold it in ways where I can still roll the tone knob down and still get a finger sound. I like some dead strings to a degree too. So I can kind of get a best of both worlds, even with a pick, moving your hand around up closer to the neck, bridge, all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, being a converted guitarist myself, I'm still struggling with fingerstyle. I'm mostly a pick player, and it's fine. I mean,
It is literally sitting there going like,
yeah,
like every single thing, the same volume, the same tone. It's just sitting there doing those little things that you did back in the day in your bedroom, just like mindlessly going through scales and the rudiments to make sure it's all going about exactly. And it's tedious, but
right, right. So, tell me about your current gear and your live setup. What are you playing? What are you playing through? Any effects? That kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. So this will be a long segment because there's a lot to go through. And stop me if you want me to go on about something in particular. And I sat next to these because I figure we'll start with basses because it's been a bit of a journey. Um, I originally started on a P bass, then moved through different things to speed it up. My number one that I go to for standard tuning is my 76 P bass. This is my favorite. It is perfect in every way. Absolutely
Beautiful.
incredible. Um, it's what I could use in almost any setting. And I went away from it for a few, trying other things. I always come back to it. So that is my number one E standard. Maiden Mother Crone also plays in C standard. And my go-to for that for the longest it was originally a jazz bass. I did trade it for an upright, but then this has been my go-to. It's a 74 Gibson Ripper. Um, very, very comfortable. Honestly, I had the itch to get one in standard, and I haven't been able to find one um, that I can really like afford or just it's been tough to find the right one. But
Right.
that Ripper in C standard is what I've used for probably a while. Nothing's knocked it out until recently. I wanted that jazz bass in C again, and this is God, this is probably like 2 weeks I've had this, and this is what I've been doing lately. It's a 2022 American Professional Fender. Um, so to me, they both have their advantages, benefits, disadvantages. It's a tonal thing, which I grab. So at the moment, I'm hearing some of these jazz bass sounds. And when I talk about my board a little more, the reason for that is um, I was filling in for a friend's band. They're called Still Here. It's a hardcore band in Nashville. And I ended up putting, let's see if I can grab this. This bass. This is the grabber I got. This is a one-off they did in 2011, I believe. I put this in C sharp standard. It's technically in drop B to play their set. I was struggling to find how to use this. I tried it in E standard. It was not doing exactly what I wanted. And I was like, why are you? I was fighting it, essentially. I went back to put this in C sharp standard. It worked great for their set. And yeah, so actually, I don't remember exactly where I was going with that. But this seems to have found its place for that. As far as my other basses, I've got a fretless that I play every now and then. But I do remember where I was going with that. It was because of the pedal. I was playing this and filling in. I heard some things that would make it sound better that I couldn't do with my board. I heard a little more of this presence, high end, a little bit of like a clank in a way that, may not be the best way to put it, but I just felt like it could sit in the mix better, but I had to adjust and, do the best I could for the time. Basically, what I was doing is, I'll go through kind of the board really quick and then we can stop more. It's basically a Sansamp YYZ Tech 21, the Getty lead.
Yep.
That is my preamp. It then has a volume booster that I would use to get the Ripper to the same volume that the P bass is. Now I added that secret thing I'm talking about. It's the Tech 21 Frank Bello, so the Anthrax bassist. That is what I needed. It just gives it this little extra high end, and I felt like the jazz bass would help as well. And it ended up doing the trick. Ended up using it on I've tried it with like other basses too. It adds this nice little that thing that was missing. So that's been really great there. That then goes to a dark glass, which that's what I was using, trying to compensate for that and messing with it. It really needed to do its thing that it's been doing, is more distortion than that. Because that Tech 21 Frank Bello, it's not a lot of drive. It's barely any. It's just getting that tonal characteristic I'm hearing from that pedal to come through and do its thing. So you got that there, and now I can use the dark glass as I intend, more to distortion, that dark glass kind of sound that they do. That is for the distortions. And I have a picture like on my Instagram, my personal one, that someone can look up if they want to see exactly what I'm talking about. But from there, it's going to go into fuzzes. I have a few that I love and for different applications. Probably the favorite goes into the Earthquaker Devices Husimetus. It's Wada's signature fuzz from Boris, Japanese band, based off of it's a clone of a Big Muff. I believe it's the triangle one, because there's all these different types. I could have that wrong. But that one gets a nice particular Big Muff sound. Use that the most. Then I also go into a occasional what is it called? The Sabathie. It's Does It Doom, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Huge low end. It nails. It is based off of the band Electric Wizard. So it nails that tone. And so for bass, it's huge. It's I believe it's based off the Boss FZ2. But that nails that Boss tone there. Then the next one, I tried a Earthquaker Devices what is it called? I got it down here. What is that thing called? It's the Life Pedal. The Life Pedal. I love the sound. I can't get it to not feedback the way I want it in that loud live thing. So I don't use it, because if I take my hands off, it feeds back, and I don't like that. It ruins the low end. You know, you need this consistent low end, and you can't, to me, that just ruins the feel. So took that off, looked for other things, and I am doing the it's a new company, Foul Sounds, the box cutter, based off of oh god, what is it based off of? Is it the Boss Heavy Metal? I believe so. But they have a noise gate built in, solving that problem, and a octave or double octave switch, and you've got all these sliders. Really great. So I've been using that more, usually in a lower tuning. And then those are my fuzzes. I have a large board, so like I said, it's going to take a minute.
That's fine.
Let's see. Then it goes, if I remember my chain, goes on down to, let's see. Okay, I moved the wah. So it now goes to the Game Changer Audio, the Bigsby. Functions just like a Bigsby. It's in pedal form. So now as a bassist, every bassist should have one of these. It's absolutely incredible. It's a whammy. I mean, like, you combine it with delay, you can kind of that you can get trails of a note like going, and it's beautiful. You can be so expressive with it. You can go, down, up. You can choose how much you want it to go down. So you can choose the toe down to go down and stop it a whole step down, etc. You can change like the depth. I keep it pretty simple, like almost barely on, pretty dry, and it's just slightly changing that pitch. You can get super expressive with notes. And like I said, down the line, I've got 2-3 different delays. You can do crazy stuff with it. So that's there. You add distortion and stuff, you got all these different sounds that are going to happen. That goes into a wah, the bass wah, the mini one, the white one. Typical wah stuff. I like the bass one in some ways, the way it snaps back. Sometimes I don't. There's advantages for that. You can take your foot off real quick and it snaps back into place. What I don't like is it's really hard to get that sweet spot on the bottom to be even. I adjust those sliders. Anywho, moving on. What does that go into? I think it's then it's the DOD Meat Box, or one of the reissues. So that is the classic 90s pedal, the huge, massive double. You got your single and double octaves combined. It basically, you turn that wet knob all the way up. It's like an 808. Massive. You can blow speakers and stuff. I try and get a nice even blend, and I use that occasionally, usually for like a big commanding thing combined with delay that just blasts something, and then I turn it off. It's usually what I'm using it for. What comes next? Oh, but I have liked it on fretless a lot. Verb, nice reverb with that. Sounds really cool. Just do those kind of slides and stuff. What comes next? I think it's delays. I've got 3. The Boss DD7 is my favorite. Have it at this general kind of, I don't know, all around time. Then I have a Mr. Black. I can't remember the model name, but it's basically like their Supermoon Chrome reverb combined with an analog delay. I keep that specific for cloud cover. And I don't touch it because it has to be very perfect in time or it gets off. So that's for cloud cover. And the other delay is one that I mess with. I don't adjust the Boss, don't adjust the Mr. Black pedal. The TC Electronic Flashback, it's got all these delay options you can choose from built in. I mess with that. Right now it's a slap back. Sometimes I change it to like the DD7, but faster, slower. So maybe I do a reverse setting. That's there for me to fuck with as needed.
Got you. So, Do you have a preference between 4 and 5 string or higher string count basses?
All 4 string. That's all
Okay.
I do. I may get a 5 string one day, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel comfortable on 4. I don't know if I haven't had that itch that I need a 5 string because I have standard tuning basses. I have C standard. If you're talking about the low end and the way it's reacting in the mix, if I want something that's heavier, I'm probably going to pick up the C standard bass. And
Mhm.
there's different areas of the neck you could play to hit those low notes. So
Right.
I haven't had that thing in my head where it's like, oh, you need this bass with this other string. I don't see the point when I've got all these other basses.
Right. Right. Well, musicians tend to collect gear.
Mhm.
Um, and do you have anything really unique or unusual in your arsenal that you'd like to talk about?
Well, as far as the gear thing goes, the one thing I didn't say was my amp, and
Oh,
we've
yeah,
discussed
please.
some of my basses. The amp is I think it's a late 70s, 70, let's say 78-ish, acoustic 371.
Mhm.
Um, I went that route. Uh, Unfortunately, so I had an Ampeg SVT for a while. It broke all the time on me. I know it's like the amp, but it broke all the time for me. So I ended up going the 371 acoustic because um, I liked Jocko's tone. That's what he was kind of doing, the 360, 370. And John Paul Jones was huge because I'm a big Led
Mhm.
Zeppelin fan. That's what he was using in the later years, the 371. Um, if you think of those later records, House of the Holy and all that kind of stuff, um, that's what he's using there. He used the 360 first and changed over to the 371 um, because you can do more options because it actually has the preamp and power amp in the head instead of being stuck with that. So yeah, I've got that full thing. I've got the ported cab over there. That's 200 pounds that I don't use because it's too heavy. So there's that, and then I mentioned my basses. I think that collection is relatively unique, um, and my strange large board for a bassist.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes me unique is the way I kind of take all these things and do this modern approach because I grew up on classic rock and metal, and
Mhm.
Cliff Burton's always been a favorite of mine for a
Oh,
while.
yeah.
Um, so there's various like I've said, John Paul Jones, Jocko, Queen of the Stone Age is one of my favorites. So like Nico Laveri, what he would do in the early days, or even Michael Schumann these days. I even take huge influence from like Roger Waters and what he would do. But yeah, so that's I think that's my gist. The way I've cobbled this stuff together, the way I'll trade things to get different gear for what I'm hearing. Like I just traded for that jazz bass. I had a PV T40. Just wasn't quite doing it for me. And jazz bass is.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's funny, you actually sort of segued us into the next topic, and that's basically, talking about your musical influences and your favorite bassists.
Uh-huh.
So you've already it sounds like largely covered a lot of that. So what was the very first concert or show you went to?
Let's see. The interesting thing to start this segment is I got into music very late.
Hmm.
It didn't really I didn't really consume anything until probably 7th or 8th grade. It just
Hmm.
nothing clicked. Um, and I heard Led Zeppelin. It was specifically How the West Was Won, their live album, and then
Hmm.
Stadium came out, and I heard that, and that kind of got the thing rolling. My friend was playing guitar, and I was like, "Oh, let's do this together." So, as far as influences goes, I started with a lot of guitar ones, John Frusciante and stuff, Jimmy Page, but moving to bass. like I said, John Paul Jones is huge. I love Justin Chancellor. What he
Hmm.
does is incredible. Big Tool fan. Who else are some of my favorites? Um, uh, I love the way Mike Dirnt moves his bass parts around for Green Day. I think
Hmm.
that's fantastic. Um, let's see, who else? Who else? Um, mm-mm-mm. Oh, I'm blanking, but I think I've covered the main ones. I mean, there's probably someone I'm gonna
Right.
get
Right.
myself for forgetting, but like, um, I don't know. It's just I'm all over the place musically. Um, I don't remember his name, but Chat Pile is one of my new favorite bands right now. They're from Oklahoma, and I like what he's doing a lot. I can't remember his name at the moment, but um, he's using PVT 40. It's kind of why I was like, "Ooh, that might be something I want." Um, and he's using the Rusty box, um, and just getting that high end uh, kind of trebly grindish thing, a little bit percussive, that classic shellac bass tone. So um, yeah, so those are kind of things. I love so many different types of bassists for different things, and I'm looking at them and going, okay, I like this. I can apply it to my music in this way. There's different ways of consuming music. It could be, you just listening to enjoy it, or I'm always at some degree going, oh, I'm listening to this for what are they doing on bass, and how can I apply it to myself for what I'm
Right.
doing, shoegazy, post rockish kind of psychedelic rockish, whatever thing I'm doing.
Right. Right. So, over the course of your musical career, have you had an opportunity to meet any of your musical heroes?
Um, hmm. Yeah. Let's see. I met Nick Oliveri once. Through friends of friends, I was able to. They were playing the End in Nashville, and
Hmm.
some friends of friends are friends with him, and we got to chat with him for a while before the Dwarves played. That was a lot of fun because he's one of my favorites, and we're just talking about, I don't know, life, anything, just hanging out. Um,
Right.
but that was a lot of fun. I don't think I've met anyone else off the top of my head. Just people
Hmm.
I've seen close, but there's a time and place. Um, yeah.
Right. So, away from music, what
Mhm.
are some of your hobbies and interests?
Well, music's probably the big thing, but
Hmm.
um, I enjoy video games when I get the chance.
Hmm.
That's a lot of fun. Usually something that has a good story. Um, I like things like Elder Scrolls series or The Witcher or um, things like that. Maybe that have a bit more of role playing or something like that I can get into. But I do enjoy, some like chivalry or Battlefield or fighting,
Right.
a little bit of that. I'm not as
Right.
much on a modern kind of shooter, but Battlefield One, get some good World War One. Uh,
The old trench warfare and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
trench warfare for the night. Get some trauma going on.
Yeah. So, tell me about Maiden Mother Crone. How long have you guys been together? How did the band form? And where did the name come from? I love that name because it's basically the three stages of a woman's life.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So for the name, it essentially that was one of the reasons why we chose it. Our singer Nick, his uncle had the tattoo and asked him about it, and basically he did some research more on it, and he felt like that whole concept, Mother Nature's changing of the seasons, moon cycles, that idea of life, death, rebirth, that kind of, it was fitting, like that constant evolution. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
what we do, as musicians. It's a journey. We're evolving. So we felt like it was a really good choice um, for the band. And then, yeah, then how we all met, just through the scene. We've all, Greg and Nick are from here. Wesley's from Alabama. I'm from North Carolina. Wesley moved here, I think it was like 2016 or 17 or so. I can't remember exactly, but we all played in the scene. So I used to play in older bands, whether it was Econisant or Balmora. We played with Finally Gravy. That's what Greg and Wesley were in. And kind of all of our bands either, and then Greg and Wesley played, or Greg and an older band played with Nick at one point. And so Greg and Wesley writing Finally Gravy's coming to a lull at that time. And then they're writing some stuff. They invite Nick in, and then they're thinking about bassist. They send me some demos. So that would have been, I believe, early 2018, I believe. Yeah, I think that sounds right. And I like the demos, so I come in and jam, and it's great. It's fun, and we go from there. It's really nice, because throughout the years in various bands, you have connections with people musically, songwriting
Right.
connections, where you can kind of sit with them and the way you communicate and flesh these things out. A lot of the times over the years, there's it's usually one or two. Maybe it's not the full group where every single person has that thing. This was the first time it was like, oh, every single person, you sit with them, and it's really refreshing to have that thing where you're all connecting.
Right.
You're all in each other's heads. You're like anticipating that next thing correctly. That little musical magic. When you
Mm-hmm.
all are doing it, it makes it this real beautiful thing. And so it was this eye-opening experience of like, oh, like this can happen. Oh, it was really cool. And so we ran from it. It's been, what was it, 5 years at this point? Um, yeah, so it's through the trials and tribulations of life, the ups and downs. They're my brothers and family, and it's a absolutely fantastic musical journey with those guys.
That is awesome. So, bass players are typically in a partnership of sorts with the drummer as the rhythm section for the band. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Maiden Mother Crone's drummer, and how does that go?
Oh, it's Greg is a monster drummer, and it it's it's incredible, actually. Like, that connection we have, it's unlike anything I've really experienced as a bassist. Um, the way we lock in together,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of sort of hard to put it into words, but I've played with a bunch of different drummers, and lots are great. You can have great jams and stuff, but there is just something different about playing with Greg, and the way, even at the beginning, it's just like the way we think and connect and anticipate things together. It is just, like I said, it's that little magic there. So I enjoy in any capacity. Like, he, in that band I mentioned, still here. I
Mm-hmm.
filled bass a few weeks ago, and he's in that band, and it's that other thing. It's like, you get together with him and you just nail it. It's this solid backbone whenever I play with him.
That's great. So, tell me about the songwriting process within Maiden Mother Crone. Is there a primary writer or is it collaborative? How does that go?
It depends. It's all collaborative.
Hmm.
It kind of goes in waves because sometimes it starts with a jam. We're all there and we're writing and saying, "Oh, let's do this and don't do this," and then we come back to it the next day or the next week or whatever and adjust more. Sometimes Nick or Wesley or myself um, come in with an idea. Nick likes to demo things a lot, so
Hmm.
he'll come up with an idea at home, go through it, send it to us. Um, Wesley will do very similar things. Nick will sometimes add parts or whatever, and then we'll listen to it. Maybe it's pretty damn close, and we just run it and go, boom. Maybe we're adjusting on the fly of playing live together. So it's a little bit of that because, like, sometimes those demos will be there, and it's like we don't need to change it. Let's run it. Let's play it.
Right.
Then I'll go, oh, I hear a bass line. Cool. Or, maybe something I come up with, we need to change something. Or Wesley comes up, we are like, that's better. Let's bring it there. So it is always collaborative. Sometimes someone has more of the idea first, and you don't need to change it. Maybe you do. Maybe it's a section. Maybe it's a simple chord. It runs like that, and it's easy.
Gotcha. Awesome. Awesome. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to flip over to the Instagram tab and see if anybody has any questions or comments for us in the chat here. Not seeing anything, so I guess we'll move on. So is Maiden Mother Crone or any of your other side projects anything approaching a full-time thing? And if not, tell me about your day job.
Yeah, not at that point. The money we make from our merch sales, you split it like 4 ways. Not
Right.
enough to pay our rent. It'd be great to do one day.
Yeah.
So, probably one day. And plus the music we make, it's not mainstream. It's probably a little more cult following. So yeah, I for my day job, I work at the Farmer's Dog, and that's a great gig, fantastic company. My shift is in the morning. It's like 7 to 4. So I'm don't really have to take off for shows really. If it's around Nashville, touring, they've got great PTO policy. They're just a very understanding company, great people. And it's, it's a, it's nice working there. It's been growing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good food. Like it's really helping, dogs out there, getting that whole message of, kibble being, very processed and bad for dogs. So it's nice to, work for a company like that. And it works really well with that balance of work and music, and which sometimes has been hard in the past where whatever I'm doing, things, there's conflict. There's really never conflict working here. So it's been nice.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, what would you say would be, if you can narrow it down to one or two things, what is the most interesting experience that you have had playing live?
Most interesting. I think my favorite has been it's usually actually playing out of state. You get people who maybe, because Nashville is very congested, you just get people who don't have quite as many shows going on, and like they're just very, very appreciative. There's some really, really great scenes out there. And like one of my favorite experiences was in the Peoria area, Illinois. We played a
Mhm.
house show. God, it was set up by a group called Mount Moon, and the scene in Illinois is incredible. Got to play with our friends Heaving, and they're wonderful too. People should check them out. But We played this house. Ah, God, you couldn't fit any more people in there, and they were turning people away. I bet there was about 250 or so people inside the house. It was beautiful. It was incredible. People crowd surfing. It was wild. That was one of the greatest experiences. That people coming for the music, having an incredible time, mind-blowing experience.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So, what would your favorite Maiden Mother Crone song to play live be?
There's a few. Maybe one of the old ones, like Vile Hands is always very fun. It's just very fast-paced. The only one I really sing on, I do some screaming on it. And Greg and I get that kind of crazy solo in the middle where it's like really quick and we really lock in. And it's one of my favorite bass lines to play. That's probably number one. But then, oh man, like Through Discord or Silentium's crazy fun too. You know, when you got those like combinations of like beautiful, ethereal, but also like you got the crazy, loud, and chaotic sections. Those are really fun. So I like about Silentium, it starts very beautiful and then it gets kind of more loud and stuff near the end. Through Discord, it's a little different. You've got a lot of the chaos, beauty in the middle, back to the chaos. So there's, you know, all for different reasons. Kind of depends. Blue Ruin's a nice, lovely shoegaze number to if you want a little more of that washy vibe kind of thing.
I was going to say, you know, this week in preparation for this, I've been going down the Maiden Mother Crone rabbit hole somewhat, and really like Blue Ruin, really like Cloud Cover, and Eons. All of those are just tremendous pieces of music. I've really, like I said, enjoyed getting down in that rabbit hole. So,
thank you. What are some of your favorites? Or whether it's past or current?
Are you just talking about music in general?
Yeah, music in general.
Well, I'm heavily into Dream Theater. Big John Mayung fan. Just think, and John Petrucci as well. You know, from early on as a kid, I got into Rush at a fairly early age, probably 10 or 11. And
God, once I told you that I'd hit my head on for forgetting.
Yeah,
Eddie Lee.
Yeah. I like Iron Maiden quite a bit. I'm a big Steve Harris fan. I love his playing, and you know, Metallica, obviously, Cliff Burton. I wasn't that big of a Jason Newsted fan. Robert Trujillo's pretty good, but you know, nothing will really ever touch Cliff Burton. And you know, Black Sabbath, Geezer Butler.
Yes. One of my favorite bands of all time. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like you, I was, you know, I kind of grew up listening to what is now being called classic rock, you know, and it's funny when songs that you distinctly remember being hits are being played on oldies stations. You know, you start to really feel old. I mean, I'll be 55 later this year, so I'm not a young guy, but I've seen a lot. So
did you like one of my other big influences is like I like what's his name? Because I was a big Stone Temple Pilots fan. I'm blanking. Robert DeLeo.
DeLeo. Yeah.
You like the grunge movement a lot? I was big on basically all those bassists. They're
you
all
know, the funny thing about grunge is that scene sort of came to the forefront right when I was finishing college.
Mhm.
And I went from college directly, for a number of years, I worked as a paramedic. And I actually went from college right into paramedic school. And I was so busy with all that that I wasn't paying attention to music at all, really,
Mhm.
for a few years there. And so by the time I kind of started listening to music again, grunge was kind of on its way out. So I've listened to a lot of grunge retrospectively, and I absolutely love it. But I wasn't tuned in for it, and
Yeah,
so anyway, uh,
totally, totally.
but yeah, today is 30 years since Kurt Cobain.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
right.
hard to believe it's been that long. I mean,
That is actually one of those bands that, God, they're probably one of my favorites of all time, and one of the most impactful for me.
Nirvana.
Just all.
Hmm.
I can't believe I haven't mentioned him in this because it's funny. One of the most impactful things for me musically, and you just go, oh. But
Right.
I've listened to every single thing I could find of theirs. It's just Chris Novoselic is a bassist. His lyrics,
Yeah.
I love everything they did.
Yeah, I've always felt like Chris Novoselic is not given the due that he deserves. I think he is underrated and overlooked a lot.
Absolutely.
So,
Perfect parts for what's going on.
oh yeah,
Comes back to
absolutely.
one of the best examples. That moving bass line, very unique. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah.
So, before you go on live, do you have any pre-show traditions? Like athletes, sometimes before a game, they'll completely unlace their shoes and relace them, or things like that. Do you have anything that you consistently do before you go on?
Not really consistently. I'd say I would probably want just a second to myself for
Hmm.
a minute. Um,
Right.
yeah, I don't really have anything. Maybe grab some water or something like that. Nothing very interesting here. I want maybe a second to myself for like the 15 minutes before we go on, because even we're such a tight band. We our Mondays is our practice day, and we usually play for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, whether it's jamming or whatever. Um, we're so tight that it's just it's just muscle memory. It's easy. But still, even for any show, you always have a slight bit of nerves. That slight thing. Um, but that's why I like to just kind of like maybe not be around anyone or something. I'm a bit of an introvert to a degree, so
Hmm.
I can fool someone maybe at times of being a potential extrovert. But yeah, maybe a little bit to myself, have some water, get ready, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I do want to give a bit of just a quick warning to anybody that's watching this on Instagram. We're coming up we're getting close to the 1 hour point. And I know that Instagram cuts their lives off at an hour. So, if you're watching and it cuts off, in my link tree in my bio, there are links to YouTube and Twitter. So you can go over there if you want to continue to watch if we hit that 60-minute point. But anyway, continuing on, Dave, what is your favorite part? Where in North Carolina is your hometown?
I'm from Charlotte,
Okay,
so it's a little more on the western side of North Carolina, and
right.
it's pretty close to South Carolina. Say it's
Hmm.
about 45 minutes to an hour to the border.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so western-ish, but it's not too far from the center of the state. Of the bu-
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So, what would you say what was your favorite thing about Charlotte, and what is your favorite thing about Nashville?
Hmm. Let's see. Favorite thing about Charlotte. It's kind of tough to say because I mean, I only really was there when I was a kid, really, to like 18. And I only go back every so often to see my mom and grandmother who's in that area and
Hmm.
family stuff. They do have a great scene because I've got some buddies who are in the Charlotte scene, and it's always great to go back and play. So it's a little more after the fact where I enjoy the music from Charlotte. So it's a beautiful city. I think it's actually prettier than Nashville. They seem to
Hmm.
have a better, I like a little bit of green and trees and the way their city and their surrounding outside area just looks. I think it looks a little prettier. Um,
Hmm.
but Nashville's got some good things. I mean, as far as the scene goes, you can find just about any kind of music you're looking for. So really quickly on that, that's good. There's good and bad. It's so congested that there's so much going on that you know it can be hard to pull people in your own city because they're conflicted on which shows to go to.
Right.
Um,
Too many options.
unless it's a very important show for you where like all of them are coming. So that can be good and bad, but there's a lot of community. It's a great home base, and that's where I enjoy playing out of state a lot too, because you really can pull a lot in and meet new people and stuff. But back to
Right.
Nashville. Um, there's really lots of I live kind of close to downtown, so I can do that thing, but it's a little touristy down there. So
Right.
I don't really that's sort of a potential negative. Downtown's a little too country for me. Um,
Gotcha.
too many bachelorette parties, pedal taverns. Um, East Nashville's really cool though. There's
Hmm.
some of the best venues are over there, some of the best food. Um, And then you got some good music scene like Murfreesboro. Incredible
Hmm.
pop scene. One of the best scenes and best communities is actually the hardcore scene here. Incredible community, and they really really work together, creating some incredible shows. But
Hmm.
I like Nashville. There's good and bad in any city, and
Yeah.
I've been here 14 no yeah 14 years now, so I've
Yeah.
enjoyed
So now we're actually getting to one of my favorite questions, and I've asked this on every one of these, and I always get the most interesting answers.
my.
And that is, Dave, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Hmm. The first thing would be probably lean into bass when you at the get go, uh,
Hmm.
because I look back on it and go, "Wow, if I had all those years to play the bass, I could be really fucking good." I mean, not saying I'm shit, but um, that's like you know, uh, almost a decade of playing that I didn't focus on the bass. That would be the number one. But, at the same time, that's where I get into my next thing. And it's like all these choices brought you to where you are. They made
Hmm.
you are the way you think about things. So, you know, um, cause like I think like it was Belmont worth my time? Probably not. But I did meet a lot of great people there.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it helped me meet people in the scene, play out, learn things, have some incredible highs, lows. I've had some of the best and worst shows over the years. And so really, you know, don't know if I'd really do it differently. I feel like Nashville helped me meet, the Maiden Mother Crone guys. If I
Hmm.
changed something, I applied to other cities too, and I didn't go to college there. Like I didn't go to Miami for jazz, or I didn't go to California to do, you know, that kind of thing. I felt like Nashville was best. Um, I've enjoyed playing music with my buddy Zach, who we met when we were 4. We grew up in North Carolina together. We stayed in touch when he moved to Memphis in high school. Then we were roommates in college. And then we played in bands together
Hmm.
throughout. He's not in Maiden Mother Crone, but we always play music together and always will. And, I've had some of the best musical experiences here. So I can't really say I could change anything, I guess. It's all
Right.
it's all worked out, I guess.
Yep. It's worked out how it was meant to work out.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
so so do you have any suggestions for any other bands to check out, or potentially other bass players to reach out to do one of these live chats?
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's see. Uh, Ricky plays in Spirits Republic, and he plays in Soviet Shishka. And then another punk band called Secondhand Nudes. He's a fantastic bassist. That's someone who I'd reach out to. Um, oh, who else? I didn't think about this. I'm gonna hit myself if I forget someone good.
Well, you
Um,
could, if you draw a blank, you can always reach out to me later and let me know. So, I
Absolutely.
mean,
What is her name? It's Nicole. Nicole. I can't remember her last name. She just changed bands. I will follow up with you on that one.
okay.
She's one of my favorite bassists. Um, and she's always great tone. She was using a lot of old Gibson basses, Gibson Grabber, Thunderbird, Ripper. Um, Great tone. I'll see if I can do a quick search if I can find it real quick, but if not, we can just move on.
Okay.
Nicole Miller. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Yeah, guitar in Laurel Hell. Um, yeah, but was in bass. Does a lot of bass stuff too.
Cool. Cool. So, something else that I've done on every one of these is um, the the person that is being interviewed ultimately gets to ask a question for the next person in the hot seat, and we'll get to that in a minute. But my previous session on here was with Morgan Johnson, Mojo, who plays in sometime in February, and he actually speaks very highly of you. Um,
Yes, I love them.
and he had sort of a two-part question that he posed, and that is, part one is, what is your favorite ingredient in a smoothie?
Oh, okay. Huh. All right. I think I'm gonna be pretty basic. I like fruit smoothies, so I'm gonna say something like a mango based. Maybe you put some like mango or pineapple, or maybe it's got like some strawberries or banana. Or I love maybe you go to an Indian restaurant, you get the mango lassi. It's like a yogurt mango base. That's great.
Mhm.
But I got to be careful because I've got Crohn's and that shit will fuck me up. So,
Ah, yeah,
so, um, but those are probably my favorites.
gotcha. And the other part is, um, with or without you or your band in it, what would be your dream lineup in a tour?
Oh, Dream lineup. So like who the other bands that are on the bill, or I'm playing with them, or
It could either be you're playing with them or you're not playing with them and you're just creating a dream lineup for a tour.
well, let's see. Let's to leave out like legendary bands. Like right now, I would love to play with the band Oh Brother. They're a huge influence on Maiden Mother Crone. They're from Atlanta, Georgia. Love Holy Fawn. So they're from I believe it's Scottsdale, Arizona. I know it's Arizona. They are absolutely incredible. Those are probably some of my favorites. I love Chat Pile. A little more, so that's a little more on the heavier side. I love
Mhm.
Sumac, Primitive Man wearing their shirt. So maybe something like that. It's that kind of, that's a little bit of it's I love anything that's kind of anywhere from ethereal to post-rocky chaos, something along those bands would be an incredible lineup. Or if you did all of us, that'd be a huge tour.
Very cool. Very
Um,
cool.
but legendary bands, I mean, let's go with like Black Sabbath and stuff like that. Some of the classics.
Right.
Yeah, Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin, all that stuff.
Yep. So, again, since this is a series, is there a question that you would like to pose to whoever is my next victim?
Hmm.
If you can't come up with something, you can always ping me later.
Maybe I can think of a better one later, but let's see. What is all right. Would you rather be a goat, or would you rather be a manatee, and why? Let's go there, and then maybe I'll think of something better.
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Um,
Part of my childhood, I lived in coastal Florida on the East Coast, and we were basically our house backed up onto a canal that was part of the Intercoastal Waterway. And during the warmer months, manatee would actually come down the canal.
oh yeah,
And yeah, so I mean, we had usually families of manatee living in our canal for like 9 months out of the year. So it was really very
very cool.
cool. So
They're really sweet. It's been ages since I've been around one, but pretty cool.
yeah, yep. Well, so do you have any upcoming events, any shows, any upcoming music you'd like to hype?
We really just been writing for a while, writing and doing that thing for the past few, but we might be playing somewhere locally in May. But I know the next thing for sure is out of town. We're going to be playing in Illinois, going back to Peoria and Bloomington in late May. That's going to be super fun. And then we're going to start playing out of town a little more mid and late year. But we kind of just been going, all right, let's write. Let's figure out the next thing we're wanting to do as a band. It's always fun playing live shows, and sometimes it's weird when you're not. But
Right.
it's important to really go, where's this? Where are we going to go with this? And so taking some time to just sit down, stop, and go. We've got all these ideas, and we've got probably 4 or 5 songs that are ready to go. And it's like, okay, what do we do with this? Do we write more? Do we release it? Are they ready? Figuring out all that kind of stuff. So we've been doing it for the past few months. So we kind of get an eye in potential EP idea, but maybe start recording something soon.
Cool. But yeah, if you guys make it down to Atlanta, please let me know because I definitely want to come see you guys.
Absolutely. Actually, Atlanta is on the list, so I definitely will let you know when we get that booked.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Um, Atlanta, gosh, I've been in this area for 40 years. And so if anywhere is home, I guess Atlanta is. Currently we're about 30 miles northeast of the city.
Mhm.
Which is nice because we're far enough out to be away from it, but we're close enough that we can enjoy the amenities of having a big city nearby. So
Yeah. Greg's cousin lives north of Atlanta, and my cousins grew up there, and my aunt's there still. So I've been there quite a bit. And actually, one of my favorite concerts I went to Atlanta for, Holy Fawn. Then I also saw Tenacious D there. So I always like going to Atlanta. And I look forward to
nice,
being there and actually playing it for the first time.
nice. Well, those of you that have been watching live, thank you. And those that end up watching this on a replay at some point, thank you for that as well. If you like what we're doing here, please spread the word. Leave us comments. Any of that kind of stuff is good as we continue to try to grow this effort to celebrate local music and celebrate bass players. And Dave, thank you for your time.
Thank
This
you.
has really been a blast. I have had the best time just chatting.
Thank you. It really means a lot. And thank you for doing this. And I really appreciate it. It's been a blast.
And so everybody just have a great night and a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. I don't have anything firm scheduled, but I've got some more of these that are in various stages of getting people to commit. So anyway, we'll be seeing you soon, and y'all have a good night. So I'm going to just a second.